I never thought I'd be in a situation like this, but here I am, caught between protecting my wife's happiness and exposing a potential threat to our marriage. Let me start from the beginning. I'm a 24-year-old man, and I've been with my wife, also 24, for 3 wonderful years. We tied the knot about 6 months ago, and life has been nothing short of amazing. We've always talked about starting a family, but we didn't expect it to happen so soon. Last week, we found out that we're going to be parents. The news hit us like a tidal wave of joy and excitement. We're both over the moon, ready to embark on this new chapter of our lives together. This past weekend, we decided it was time to share the good news with our families. We invited everyone over for a barbecue, wanting to make the announcement special. The look on our parents' faces when we told them they were going to be grandparents was priceless. My wife's sister, who's 21, seemed genuinely happy for us too. She hugged my wife tightly, tears in her eyes, saying how excited she was to be an aunt. It was a perfect day, filled with laughter, love, and anticipation for the future. But then this morning, everything changed. I was at work, buried in emails and project reports, when my phone buzzed with a text message. It was from my wife's sister. At first, I thought nothing of it. Maybe she wanted to ask about baby shower plans or offer to help with nursery preparations. How wrong I was. The message started innocuously enough, with her congratulating us again on the pregnancy. But then it took a sharp, unsettling turn. She wrote that she knows women can become emotionally and physically abusive during pregnancy, and that they often put a stop to intimacy. My stomach churned as I read on. She offered to help me out anytime, sexually or emotionally, during and after the pregnancy. I stared at my phone in disbelief, reading and rereading the message, hoping I had somehow misunderstood. But there was no misinterpreting her words. My wife's sister, her best friend since childhood, her maid of honor at our wedding just 6 months ago, was propositioning me. And not just that, she was doing so at a time when my wife is at her most vulnerable, carrying our child. The rest of my work day was a blur. I couldn't focus on anything, my mind racing with questions and concerns. How could she do this? What was she thinking? Has she always had feelings for me? Or is this some twisted way of dealing with the news of becoming an aunt? And most importantly, how on earth am I going to handle this situation? Let me be crystal clear. I have absolutely no interest in anyone other than my wife. She is my soulmate, my partner, the mother of my child. The very thought of betraying her makes me sick to my stomach. But now I find myself in an impossible situation. Do I tell my wife about her sister's offer and potentially destroy their relationship? Or do I keep this to myself, protecting my wife from the pain, but allowing a snake to remain close to our family? My wife and her sister have always been incredibly close. Despite the 3-year age gap, they've been inseparable since childhood. I've heard countless stories of how they've supported each other through thick and thin. When my wife was struggling with anxiety in college, her sister was there every step of the way. When her sister went through a bad breakup last year, my wife spent nights consoling her, helping her pick up the pieces. Their bond has always been something my wife cherished deeply. She often talks about how lucky she is to have such a close relationship with her sister. They share everything, secrets, clothes, dreams for the future. Her sister was the first person my wife called when we got engaged, and she was right by her side throughout the wedding planning process. The thought of shattering this bond is heartbreaking. I can already picture the devastation on my wife's face if I tell her what her sister has done. The betrayal would cut deep, especially coming from someone she trusts so implicitly. And to have this happen now, when she's pregnant and already dealing with the physical and emotional changes that come with it, seems almost cruel. But then I think about the alternative. If I don't tell my wife, I'm essentially allowing her sister to remain close to our family under false pretenses. This woman, who my wife loves and trusts, has shown that she's willing to betray her in the most hurtful way possible. Who's to say she won't try something like this again in the future? And what if my wife finds out later that I knew about this and didn't tell her? The breach of trust could be irreparable. Moreover, I'm disgusted by the assumptions her sister made in her message. The idea that my wife would become abusive or withhold intimacy during pregnancy is not only offensive, but shows a fundamental lack of understanding about our relationship. My wife and I have always communicated openly about our needs and concerns. We're in this pregnancy journey together, supporting each other every step of the way. The fact that her sister would think I'd be open to cheating on my wife, especially while she's carrying our child, makes my blood boil. I find myself wondering about her sister's motivations. Is this really just a childish crush, as I initially thought? Or is there something deeper, more sinister at play? Has she always harbored feelings for me, waiting for an opportunity like this? The thought makes me uncomfortable, thinking back on all the family gatherings and events we've attended together. Were there signs I missed? As I sit here trying to decide what to do, I keep coming back to one fundamental truth. My first priority is, and always will be, my wife and our unborn unborn child. Everyone else, including her sister, can go to hell if they threaten our happiness or the stability of our family. But how do I protect my family without causing unnecessary pain? If I tell my wife tonight, I know she'll be absolutely devastated. The pregnancy hormones are already making her more emotional, and news like this could be overwhelming. I worry about the stress it might put on her and the baby. At the same time, I know I'll always be there for her, no matter what. Her parents, who have always been supportive of our relationship, would undoubtedly be on our side in this situation. But is that enough to make up for the loss of a 20-year bond with her own sibling? The timing of this couldn't be worse. Pregnancy is supposed to be a time of joy and anticipation, not stress and betrayal. How can I possibly tell my wife that the sister she's loved and looked after for so many years wanted to sleep with her husband while she was pregnant? The very thought of having this conversation makes me feel physically ill. If I don't tell her soon and decide to tell her later, I risk losing her trust in me. She might question why I kept it from her for so long, wondering if there's more to the story than I'm letting on. The last thing I want is for her to doubt my loyalty or honesty. But if I don't tell her at all, I'm allowing my wife to remain close with someone who clearly doesn't have her best interests at heart. Her sister has shown that she's capable of this level of betrayal. Who knows what else she might do in the future? The thought of this woman being around our child, potentially as a trusted aunt, makes me deeply uncomfortable. I've considered confronting her sister directly, telling her in no uncertain terms that her behavior is unacceptable and that she needs to back off. But I worry that this might backfire. What if she twists my words, making it seem like I initiated something? Or what if she decides to tell my wife herself, spinning the story in a way that makes me look guilty? As I write this, I'm no closer to a decision. Every option seems to lead to pain and heartache. Do I prioritize protecting my wife's emotional well-being in the short term by keeping this secret? Or do I opt for honesty, knowing it will cause immediate pain, but potentially save us from bigger problems down the line? I keep coming back to the vows we made just 6 months ago. We promised to stand by each other through good times and bad, to be honest and faithful, to face life's challenges together. Doesn't that mean I have an obligation to share this with her, no matter how difficult it might be? In the end, I know that whatever decision I make, it will be with the best intentions for my wife and our unborn child. They're my world, and I will do whatever it takes to protect them. But the weight of this secret is already heavy on my shoulders, and I'm not sure how long I can carry it. If anyone out there has been in a similar situation or has any advice to offer, I'm all ears. How do you tell the person you love most in the world that someone they trust has betrayed them so deeply? How do you balance honesty with protecting someone's feelings? Is there any way to navigate this minefield without someone getting hurt? As I prepare to go home and face my wife, I'm filled with a mix of love, concern, and uncertainty. I know that no matter what happens, we'll face it together. But I can't help wishing that her sister had never sent that message, that we could just be enjoying this special time in our lives without this dark cloud hanging over us. Whatever happens, I know one thing for certain. My love for my wife and our unborn child is unshakable. No offer, no temptation, no outside force can ever change that. We're in this together for better or for worse, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect our little family. I just hope I have the strength and wisdom to make the right choice in this impossible situation.